all of you. Hi, Cecile again. And of course, when we speak about environment and culture, not just Sunny is here, but his wife, equally competent wife. We were just together yesterday on the celebration of Earth Day. I thank former senator and the original climate change advocate when I was still a journalist, and now commissioner of the Climate Change Commission, a commission which was created after the Climate Change Act, which I principally authored and sponsored in the Senate in my second term, was finally enacted into law in 2009. I'm so glad that Sunny is there fighting for climate change adaptation and mitigation, and fighting for the preservation of the environment. While we as lawmakers continue to enact laws, it is perhaps even more important that we have the executive to understand and implement all the laws that we have done. And when I was still a young journalist, which engineer Punsalan had mentioned, it was then Senator Sonny Alvarez who even sent me on a trip to the Netherlands to understand the water system and the dike system that could help us arrest the flooding here. If only they listened and they implemented what then Senator Sonny Alvarez had said, perhaps the floods of Metro Manila and of neighboring regions like 4A and Region 3 would not happen, because he brought in an expert in the dike system. I remember his name, Dr. Waterman, whom I met in the Netherlands, who briefed me about the dike system in that small country, but in fact they don't get flooded because of a dike system. Unfortunately, it's been, what, 20 years, it's not being done. But if they listen to the vision of Senator Alvarez, then perhaps all our environmental woes would not happen. But we are here to speak about what we can build on together. So I'm so happy that Sunny had thought about inviting me here today so that I can give you some insights into what we're doing in the Senate, and perhaps also learn from you. So we'd also like to greet Mr. Hans Schrader, Senior Program Manager of the IFC, and of course, Engineer Laurentino Punsalan. Thank you, sir, Chairman of the Philippine Green Building Initiative, for your very kind words. And in fact, this should be the beginning of a collaboration so that the Climate Change Commission, my office, the Philippine Senate, the local government representatives, especially our beautiful, youthful Mayor of Santa Rosa, Mayor Arlene Arcillas, and the young Kagawad from Makati, and all of you present here today can build on what we come up with here. Because really, it rests on you. All the laws that we do, whether it is the Ecological Solid Waste Management Law, which I authored in January of 2001, RA 9003, whether it's the Clean Air Act of 1999, or the Clean Water Act of 2003, or the Climate Change Act of 2009, or the People's Survival Fund of 2011, or the NDREAM-C law. I can go on and enumerate all the laws. But if the local governments do not embrace it and implement it, all the well-meaning and well-crafted laws will be to naught. Kaya po, ang kailangan namin, ang mga lokal na pamahalaan na nandito, lalo na perhaps Arlene can be the model for the whole Laguna and perhaps Region 4A on how it can be perhaps the first green city, and Makati. We just had the Vice President, his son is the mayor. We have Kagawad here, and I know that Vice Jojo and Mayor Junjun have embraced also DRR as part of their kind of governance. So I have a tendency not to read my speeches and to just extemporize, but I will perhaps read because it's a well-researched speech, but also sometimes perhaps digress and talk about my personal experiences. The future communities in the Philippines will vastly differ from the ones we live in today. As we witness the 21st century unfold, our nation faces a new set of technological, socio-economic, and global challenges that are more complex than any of us have ever experienced in our shared history. They dramatically alter the way we live in our communities, and at stake is the quality of life, not only of ours, but of our progeny. It is the responsibility of the government, especially local government units, to understand these challenges and to take proactive measures that will optimize our nation's future, to plan, to build, and support sustainable communities. The United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development describes sustainability as a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. A sustainable community is an end goal, when government and the people share a common vision, engage each other in the intricacies, and together bring it to fruition. The first step towards building a sustainable community is to correct one of the biggest misconceptions about the environment, that natural resources are infinite. We all know these are finite. Clearly, our Earth resources are not limitless. We are now witnessing the rapid decline of our forest cover, water supply, air quality, and the demise of our biodiversity. Cecil yesterday saw in the National Museum how we had a gripping, enthralling video of our marine life, which should be sustained and conserved, and at the same time the trash underwater that destroys our marine life, that destroys the home of our fish, which causes hunger for our fisher folks and the coastal communities, families that live in our archipelagic nation. In order to build a sustainable society, it cannot be business as usual. We need to stop consuming more than we need and start making sacrifices, including cuts in our greenhouse gas emissions. The Asian Development Bank's key indicators for Asia and the Pacific noted that the increase in carbon dioxide emissions could rise to 10.2 metric tons per capita by 2050 if interventions to reverse the trend are not introduced. A cursory look now proves that the 4 degrees Celsius world, which may have seemed improbable 20 years ago, is not far off today. The IPCC, the fourth assessment report, suggested that a 1.5 to 2.5 degrees Celsius increase in global mean temperature from pre-industrial levels threatens the extinction of 30% of all flora and fauna in the world. Climate change, according to reports, and Sami is the expert here, threatens our food security as crop yields are estimated to decline by 19% in Asia towards the end of the century. Rice yield in the Philippines is projected to decline by 75%, and a 4-degree scenario doubles these impacts. A hotter global temperature, and we feel the heat now in the Philippines, will result in damaging sea levels, extreme weather, and food insecurity. Floods, which we have experienced, droughts, which we are experiencing, hunger, which is growing, are already issues we are dealing with today. The more frequent, more intense, and stronger storms we are experiencing, be it Ondoy, Pepeng, Sandy, Pablo, or Yolanda, Haiyan, have been affecting our economic development as well. Ondoy was 2.7% of our GDP. The Habagat the year after, which affected Central Luzon, was 0.8% of our GDP. Sa isang hagip ng ulan ng ilang oras, ay nawawala lahat ng pinagharapan ng ating bansa. For instance, losses due to Typhoon Haiyan or Yolanda are estimated at 571 billion pesos. If this is accurate, perhaps I think it's more, which represents close to 5% of our Philippines' annual GDP. Meanwhile, losses due to typhoons Ondoy and Pepeng in 2009 were equivalent, as I said, to 2.7% of our country's GDP. Indeed, climate change has changed the magnitude and the frequency of extreme weather and climate events. What has brought about the state we are in today? Key findings of the 2012 IPCC Special Report on Extreme Events reveal that climate change is indeed unequivocal, and that there is 95% likelihood that human activity is the cause of global warming. Human activity released 545 gigatons of carbon dioxide, the main greenhouse gas, from 1750 to 2011. The Philippines, yes, is a minor emitter of GHG. We all know that. Less than 1%. But even as we are taking steps to demand the world's biggest polluters to reduce their carbon usage for the sake of the planet, we cannot just sit and wait for other parties to turn their commitment into action. It makes good economic, environmental, social, health sense to cut our emissions even if we are not a major emitter. We need to take care of our own backyard, so to speak. And in this case, we need to make that first step in controlling the levels of anthropogenic pollution. We can cut our carbon emissions, improve our environment, and create sustainable communities if we build green. That is why we are all here today in a triumphant mood. The Climate Change Commission Resolution number 5 which has been endorsed by President Benigno Aquino, is an important piece in that blueprint towards creating a more sustainable and livable nation. When we build green, and you perhaps know that better as engineers, as builders, as architects, as contractors, as local government leaders, we help reduce our global carbon footprint. We cut down costs. We improve our citizens' overall way of life. The implementation of the National Climate Change Action Plan by local governments makes sure that building green not only looks good on paper, but also for the planet. We must also promote community resilience. LGUs could prioritize resilience as part of their political and sustainable development agenda and make reducing disaster risk their legacy. Sa 2016, pag ang mga mayor ay tatakbo ng muli, pag ang mga senador at mga kongresista at mga gobernador ay tatakbo ng muli, ako po ay hindi natatakbo, ay tanungin natin, ang basura ba natin ay kinokolekta sa nabubulok at hindi nabubulok? Do they actually implement RA 9003? Sa ating likod, ang ating ilog ba at batis at ang ating karagatan ay ginagawang basurahan o ang mayor ba ay tumutulong para linisin ang ating mga karagatan at mga laot? Ang ating basura ba ay nagdudulot ng sakit o ito ba'y recycle at ginagamit para magkaroon ng karagdagang kinikita ang mga nangangailangan ng pondo? Ang ating mga lokal na pamahalaan ba at sa executive ay siyang putol na putol ng puno o sila ba ay nagtatanim at sila ba ay gumagamit ng mga geohazard map pag sila po ay naggagawa ng kanilang mga housing project? Ito pong ating tanungin dahil ang ating pagboto sa ating mga leader ang ugis ng politika. Kailangan po tingnan natin, do they understand what DRR is? Do they actually follow the NDRIMC law and actually ask the Mines and Geosciences Bureau to actually map their cities, their municipalities, their barangays, and even their puroks to make sure that they build our homes, they build our city halls, municipal halls, and they build barangay halls and classrooms in non-geohazard areas. Paying protection or attention to protection will improve environmental, social, and economic conditions, including combating the future variables of climate change. It will also make the communities more prosperous and secure than before. Initiatives could include making schools, hospitals, and other critical public infrastructure resilient against disasters. What do I mean? Simple lang po, kung magkaroon po kayo na nagsagawa ng konferensyang to, ng isang MOA kasama ng DepEd, kasama ni Secretary Luis, ng Department of Education, ng Department of Public natin ay disaster resilient. Una, huwag sa mga lugar na malambot ang lupa dahil nasa paan ng bundok at pag ulan ng ulan ay maaaring gumuho ang bundok gaya na nangyari sa St. Bernard's again sa Ugo noong 2006. Ay dapat din hindi malapit sa karagatan dahil sila ay nasa both no-build area at pag dumating ng storm surge na maaari naman sanang malaman ahead of time ng Pag-asa at DOST ay ito naman ay masasakupan ng ating silakbo or source. Yan po ang Tagalog ng ating source. Geohazard area. It should not be in a multi-hazard area. At the same time, the way it's built. I am not an engineer, I am not an architect, but I have an interest always in building because even in my character, I'm a builder. I don't like to criticize, I don't like to destroy, I simply want to build. And I take that literally. In every place I go to, I look at the way it's done. We know very well, and Engineer Pulusanan probably knows better than me, in the next few months if you have water catchment basins. Hindi ba simple po? Ang mga alulod ng ating mga bahay, ng ating mga gusali, ng ating mga eskwelahan. Lagay mo lang ng drip. Maaring pong may mga drum dyan, mga recycled na malalaki mga plastic, basta natakay para wag pumadengge, at maglalagay ng butas at doon maglalagay ng hose, imbis na ang hose ay galing sa gripo, ay galing po sa mga drum na yun at yun siguro ang paggamit para sa pagtubig ng halaman. Diba? Hindi ako engineero, pero ito po ay maaring gawin at nakikita kong ginagawa sa iba't ibang lugar. Ay, kung ganun po, and then in 1989, did you even know that it should be instituting and implementing way back in 1989. Every public hearing asked them, pinapatupad ba nyo ito? Ngayon, ang ating mga paghihiwalay ng basura, why am I so fixated at this? Because only 25% of LGUs actually implement this. I'm sure that Makati does it. I'm sure that Santa Rosa does it. Kaya meron tayong mga mulat na mga lokal na pamahalaan. Pero bakit man 25% lamang at bakit to na ng basura, lalo na po sa plastic, sa lata, sa bote? Una, ito'y pwedeng gamitin ng muli. Ito'y pwedeng ibenta sa mga nangangailangan ng karagdagang kita. At yung mga food waste na ginagawa, galing-galing po sa ating mga prutas na kinakain o mga natitirang pagkain, ay maaring gawing organic fertilizer ang ating mga abono. So, marami pong paggagamitan kung hinihiwalay natin ang ating matitira, yun na lang ang ilalagay sa engineered sanitary landfill. Hindi kailangan mag-away ang mga MRF or ang mga I actually believe in zero waste. Only if there is segregation at the source from when we recycle compost from the source. So that's very, very important. Also, sana kung siguro man kailangan nakakurtina na mahal pa at nakakaasma pa, ay maari sigurong ilaw galing sa ating weekend. I slept overnight in an Ifugao house. It was a traditional Ifugao house, not that I built, something which was 100 years alone in an Ifugao house. And I actually saw how even at noontime, when it was so hot everywhere around the area, indigenous and traditional practices. They have slats, may konting butas, ginaw. Una dahil kahoy, pero bawal na pumunta ng kahoy ngayon. Cross ventilation, basta maginaw. Bakit pag ako'y nasa bahay ko sa Maynila, konkreto, kung ano-ano. Sa ating mga katutubo, expertise yan ni Cecil Alvarez. Marami tayong matututunan in the way they used to do. They actually commune with nature in building their homes. I'm not saying that we should all live in Ifugao houses. All I'm saying is that we can actually learn from indigenous traditional practices. As a fundamental development strategy, building resilience would help our government sustain the country's socio-economic gains and make a significant difference in poverty reduction. I'm very passionate about this because I believe when we are prepared, hazards do not have turned into disasters. And I believe Santi, for Pablo and for Sendo and for Hayan, losses of lives could have been much less. And losses to livelihoods could have been much less. Hindi po ako naninisi because we are a work in progress. Importante lang sa all the laws, pag-aralan natin. At mahalaga ay intindihin natin. Yung gumagawa ng batas siguro, mahirap maintindihan ng common tao. At mahirap maintindihan ng ibang LGUs kaya hindi napapatupad. Kaya dapat magkaroon ng massive information campaign, mag-roadshow ang Climate Change Commission at ipaliwanag sa mga barangayan ang kahalagahan ng Solid Waste Management Law, ang kahalagahan ng Clean Water Act, ang kahalagahan ng Clean Air Act, ang kahalagahan ng Climate Change ng National Land bilang chairman ng Senado. Isa pa po, ay napakarami po ng ating mga protected areas at protected landscapes, terrestrial man or marine. Wag po tayong maglalagay po ng mga wag po tayo sa dami-dami ng lugar na pwedeng paglagyan, wag po tayo mag-encroach sa mga protected areas na tinatawag. Alam po natin yung listahan naman, nasa NIPAS po yan, yung Protected Areas Act na ginawa pa nila Sen. Sani when they were in Congress at the time. So LGUs are chiefly responsible for building sustainable societies where building green will be a way of life. Thus, I urge our local governments to support this with a passion and a commitment. I hope that there will be no extensive bureaucratic entanglements because there is no time to lose. Here can build a simple one that can be a template for Mayor Arguillas to copy for all the buildings or classroom she will still build in Santa Rosa. If that green building can be a model, let's say, lakbay-aral sa Makati, lakbay-aral sa Santa Rosa, mababa ang kuryente, hindi kailangan magbukas ang ilaw dahil tama ang height lang at nabubuksan ang ang bintana, mahangin dahil cross-ventilation, aaralin natin ang hangin, at ang ating paggamit, pag-flush sa toilet ay recycled ang tubig at meron mga alulot at meron water catchment para sa panahon naman ng tag-init ay meron pang dilig ng mga halaman na siyang tinanim sa labas ng classroom. I always say classroom dahil ito ang puntahan ng ating mga estudyante at puntahan din ng mga magulang sa mga PTA meetings. So, if our classrooms will be green, if our municipal and city halls will be green, if our Congress and Senate offices will be green. I try to be because we're just renting in GSIS and I segregate my garbage at source para akong isang principal, naghahanap ako, nagbubuklat ang basura pag magulo, gano'n. And I tell them to put down the thermostat because malaking bagay po ang thermostat. At a certain degrees, I'm not sure. Pag 25, mas malaki ang konsumo, hindi ba ako engineer ng kuryente, hanggang pag 19, mas malaki ang konsumo kaysa 25. I read somewhere, if there's thermostat, talagang ang pagkonsumo ng kuryente ay mas mababa. Aralin po yun ay nabasa ko lang po, hindi ba ako engineero. But everything that I know is just really common sense. I'm neither an architect nor an engineer. I'm just a passionate reader and a perennial learner. I always want to learn, I always want to do this. In fact, my dream is to build the ultimate resilient green home. My dream is to build the ultimate resilient green school building, even just a classroom. And if this forum today would come up with that resilient classroom on a non-simplified, on a non-geohazard area, which perhaps Arlene Arcelias of Santa Rosa will donate, and they will be designed by the Green Building Initiative of Engineer Pusalan, using solar lighting, using recycled water, using, it is not on a no-build zone, and to make sure that waste is segregated, so may mga basura ka dyan for other areas, then it could be a model, believe me. And if this can be done in one city, believe me, with the pandesal mentality of the Filipinos, alam pandesal mentality, pag masarap ang isa, kopya ng kopya, everybody copies. You will be the model and everybody will actually laud you for that. I just keep on talking medyo mahaba because I'm inspired when I'm in the middle of people who really understand what I'm saying. So, I congratulate the Philippine Green Building Initiative, the International Finance Corporation, and the Climate Change Commission for this initiative. I look forward to the success of this program so that finally all buildings and structures will be built with safety and resilience as the primary consideration. Brief message today is, after we talk today, after I leave you before noon today, I really hope that we can convert green building. The time for talk is over. The time for doing things was yesterday. If we initiate, we have one green building, we hear of green buildings. It's just panels, it's not the whole building, but it's a good try. But if we have one whole building, 2 classrooms, 1 bathroom, recycled water, engineer, you build it, Arlene will provide the land, and we will... If everybody here pitches in, how much it takes 500,000 to build a classroom, 2 classrooms, 1 million among us here. And that's why we have the International Finance Corporation. Let the World Bank finance it. They finance conferences where we all actual projects. Let's walk our talk. And so, my challenge to Sunny, who's a doer, and Cecil. My challenge to Sunny and to Cecil. My challenge to the IFC World Bank and to Engineer Punsalan is to build the green building in the next 3 months. I will. Yes, doable. If you don't do it, I will do it with Arlene. But with sa aking kaunting kaalaman, pag na-recycle ang tubig at saka solar ang gagamitin at maaliwalas ang hangin, hindi kailangan ng aircon at electric fan, at magtatanim ng puno, i-adapt na nyo yung ang Pilipinas dyan. At kayo mag-segregate ng garbage, iba-ibang lata dyan na garbage can. I think that's green. Ilog Maria does it in Silang, Cavite. Many people have done it. So, I'm over time. And yun lang ang aking maikling, that's my humble message. Tayo man ay nasa legislature, o maski tayo ay housewife or tayo ay nagatrabaho sa isang tanggapan, we have a role to play. And that role can be as simple as when we come back home, we plant malunggay trees, which we can eat in the morning, which I did today because I plant malunggay in my backyard. I plant alokbati. I eat what I plant. It's as simple that. So, you might say, it's not a green building, but it's a green lifestyle. We should embrace that. In fact, we should also eat local. Not eat more than 5 kilometers away from your home. Meaning, yung tinanim mo yun din ang kakainin mo. At yung abono na organic, compost, ay gawa muna sa food waste. Yun po ang aking ginagawa. Kaya martial law sa aking bahay. Dahil sabi ko, kung sarili kong bahay, ay paano ko makukumbinsi ang ibang mga tao. Pasensya na po, pag napag-usapan po natin ang green, pag napag-usapan natin ang kalikasan, ay wala pong ubos ang aking passion. I know you know more than me, and I would like to request Sunny for a copy of all the speeches and the output of this conference so that it can guide us in our policy making. Because really, it is the LGUs that probably know better than us. So, on Earth Day, April month, let us all commit towards building a green, resilient, sustainable Philippines. Regardless of political color, itabi na po natin yan. Tulungan natin na hindi na mangyari ng muli ang mga nasalanta ng hayat. Maraming salamat. Isang luntiang umaga sa ating lahat.